This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Patricia W. Fisher with Readers Entertainment Radio, and I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of the nurses out there. Sorry, my voice is cracking a little bit because I remember working in the emergency room and ICUs before I decided to stay home and have our kids, and I remember what you're going through, and I probably only have a pinch of the insanity right now, but I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you're doing, and stay safe. And to keep you a bit distracted and a little bit of escapism when you're not working out there, nurses, please know that I have a fabulous book to distract you from all the everyday craziness. And I am so glad today that the author is here to talk to us about it. So Regina Kyle knew she was determined to be an author when she won a writing contest at the age of 10 with a touching tale about a squirrel and a nut pie. By day, she writes dry legal briefs, but at night, she writes steamy romance with a heart and humor. Made that sound very scandalous. A lover of all things, Regina lives on the Connecticut coast with her husband, teenage daughter, and two melodramatic cats. And when she's not writing, she's almost likely singing, reading, cooking, or watching really bad reality TV. Her latest work, Dirty Work, is out now, and you can find Regina on her website, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Goodreads, and BookBub. And also, you did an interview yesterday on YouTube. So welcome to the show, Miss Regina Kyle.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been busy this week.
Yeah, it's been a busy week, although we did the YouTube interview we taped last week, and that was a ton of fun.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been, whenever a book comes out, it's always a little crazy, and this has definitely been a little crazier because, marketing a book in the middle of a pandemic is definitely something I never did before or thought I would have to do. So, it's a little strange, but the great thing about Dirty Work is it's an ebook, so anyone can access it from anywhere if you're an ebook reader. So at least it feels a little bit more comfortable marketing in a strange time.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I remember when I really started thinking about I wanted to write like a book, and because I had written forever, like you, I had written something about the Loch Ness Monster in fourth grade. You wrote about a squirrel and nut pie. I mean, we write about things that are important in our lives, and it's one of those things that you go, okay, so I'm going to write this book, and that's going to be it. And now it's so much more. I mean, it's okay, you write the book, and then now you have to market the book, and it's the publishers only do so much just because of the volume they're dealing with. But also, you think your book's the best book ever, so you have a lot more interest in it. What kinds of things, other than the obvious, interviewing for different things, but has there ever been a time that you're like, I really don't want to do any of this marketing. I just want to write my book.
I think all of us feel that way a lot of the time. I'm doing this marketing, and I'm in crunch time trying to finish the next book, which comes out in November, that my editor literally has like 3/4 of. So I need to get to the last, 5 chapters of this book, which is Dirty Secrets, which is the next book involving some of the secondary characters in Dirty Work. So you're trying to do that at the same time you're trying to market. I think marketing is something that a lot of authors struggle with. It's not a lot of us are creatives. The business part of it isn't necessarily natural to us. So I'm trying to learn Facebook ads, and then there's all these courses you can take, but you've only got so much money. So you're trying to figure out where to get the best bang for your book, and a lot of it is just trial and error. The great thing about the romance community, though, is that for the most part, people are really willing to share. So, for example, I have a friend who took a class on Facebook ads, and she's been helping me design mine and sharing what she learned with me. You know, I have another friend who I have a novella that I did for the Read Me Romance podcast that I'm going to have coming out soon in print and digital. She helped me format it for print. You know, so it's great that people are willing to share their knowledge and expertise, because there is so much stuff like I never thought I would have to learn as an author, like web design and, you know, how to set up your newsletter automations, you know, even crazy things like etching wine glasses and making sea glass wine charms, which I did one year for an author reader event I went to, where you had to do table gifts for your readers. And, you know, I'm not Nora Roberts. I can't afford to buy everybody a Coach purse like one author did one year. So I had like a beach theme, because I have this little romance writing mascot who's a little stuffed manatee. My husband named him Romanatee. And so I had Romanatee in the center of this table with a little beach scene using my daughter's American Girl Bitty Baby like umbrella and stuff, and brown sugar as sand. And I made beach-themed you know, bags, some of the stuff which I bought off a wedding favor site inexpensively, but I learned how to etch wine glasses, and we live on the beach, so we have a lot of sea glass. Well, I learned how to wrap sea glass, made sea glass wine charms, you know, things you thought you'd be doing because you're an author. But it was fun.
Right.
You know, I made sea glass wine charms for gifts for people, so.
Right. Well, people, it's funny because readers get so invested, and it's one of those things that you're like, I love my story, and it's great, but you really don't. I guess we all forget what it's like to be the reader sometimes, because then when they sat down at that table when you had your event and they saw it, was like, oh, this is from this story, and this is from, you know, or this is, it's versus, okay, everybody here have a gift card from Amazon. Yeah. Which, you know, no one's going to turn that down, but. Yeah. No. But what was also nice was that they were like, wait a minute, you made this? You took the time to make this? I mean, and they were, that for me was really, you know, because you go in and you're feeling insecure because you see some of these other tables, and they're really, but all my readers who were at my table were like, wow, you took the time to make this stuff? That's you know, they were very touched by that. And that was kind of nice. So. Yeah. But I know last year. So I love those kind of events. Oh, for sure. I mean, and it's interesting because it's the stereotypical writers are these introverts that don't want to talk to anybody, and I'm finding that there's a lot of extroverts as writers. And I don't know if it's just because, you know, we're in the romance writing industry versus, you know, sci-fi or mystery. I don't know if that's the same vibe. But what I find is a lot of people are really more than happy to talk to each other and help out and appreciate, like, you know, can't believe you made this and those kind of things. I'm finding that there's a lot of people who are extroverts right now. I was finding at conferences, I'll adopt an introvert or two. You know, I've one very good writer friend who I was just actually messaging, who is who's much more introverted than I am. And so we'll room together at conferences. And, you know, I'll be her designated extrovert. So, you know, there's one conference we go to, one reader conference we've gone to for the past few years that was sadly had to be canceled this year. But, and she said, I would have never gone to this if it wasn't for you. You know, I sort of dragged her in, and she loves it now. But, you know, so sometimes, you know, I think, you know, we all have strengths, you know, and then she also helps me because she'll be like, come on, we need some downtime, you know. And that's good, too, because sometimes I could be go, 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 and I really do need to reset, but, like, I don't recognize it because I have, like, major FOMO. You know, you're just so afraid of missing something out, and she'll help me, like get over the FOMO and say, no, come on, we need to reset so that we have enough energy for the next part of this conference or event. Right, to breathe. Yeah. Yeah, so you don't run on fumes the whole time. Yeah. So tell me, you know, you write these very lovely dry briefs during the day, and then you write these, you know, fabulous romances at night. What was the moment, I mean, the catalyst that you said, you know what, I want to write a romance novel? I always tell people there's sort of two convergent things that happened in my life that made me start thinking about writing romance. I mean, like we discussed, I always liked to write. In fact, I just found I've been, you know, as a lot of us have been doing, cleaning my house during social distancing and, like, really going through stuff. And I found a folder of stories I had written when I was in 5th grade.
I had a teacher who we would shout out every week story titles, and she would pick 3 and write them on the board, and then you had to write during that weekend to turn it in on Friday, a short story based on one of those titles. And
oh, that's tremendous.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. And so I found a folder of these stories, and the 2 that I had remembered most writing were, one was called My Pet Tribble, and it was that was at the time Star Trek was super popular.
Yeah.
We didn't have cable. We only had 3 television channels, and my parents were older. My dad was 49 years old when I was born, and I'm the oldest one in the family. My mom's 13 years younger than him. So my parents sort of like, my dad didn't know what the heck Star Trek was. It wasn't. So I didn't know what a tribble was. So the story I read, everybody else is writing this alien stuff. And I wrote a story about a girl from the Deep South who ran away with her pet dog, who was named Tribble. And I wrote it in first person, so it was like using grammar like I ain't and I'm fixing to. And the teacher gave me a check minus for grammar. So I joked that clearly she didn't recognize my early brilliance writing in first
That's
person.
right. How could she not know this?
Yeah. I wish I could find her now because I loved her. She was one of my favorite teachers. But her name was Mrs. Trailer, and she got married, and her last name was Miller. So it's like way too common to find her on the Internet. I've tried. And the second story I remembered writing that was in there was I was obsessed with Watergate as a kid. I wanted to be president of the United States. I thought maybe this is why I'm a lawyer. And I was obsessed with Watergate, but I really didn't understand what it was, because I was 10.
Sure.
And I wrote a story called All the President's Women, which was my title that I had yelled out, where I was the president and all my friends were like the cabinet members.
Nice.
And that was pretty silly.
Nice.
But anyway, so I always like to write, and that was a long way of saying that. But and when I was I had gotten a Nook when I was like in my mid-40s. So I finally broke down and got an e-reader. And again, I mentioned that we didn't have cable because my father was cheap. Well, he passed those habits down to me. So I have this Nook, and I'm trying to find some ways to get some free or discount books, legally. No pirating.
Right.
And at the time, Harlequin, I think they still do. They always have like one book from each of their category lines will be free because they want you to read the line and then get hooked. And
sure.
I got a Blaze book, and my mother had been the queen of Harlequin. She used to get like the honor paperbacks out of the library, the ones that they're like, here, take them. We trust you to return them whenever. And she used to have the presents, that still have the white with the circle on the cover. And so I said, Harlequin, let me try one. And I tried one from this Blaze line, and I'll never forget, it was Leslie Kelly's Slow Hands was the book. And I read it, and then I devoured the rest of her backlist and a whole ton of other Blazes. I still have the Nook app on my phone now, and I still have like over 200 Blaze books in there. And so when I started to write, that was the line I was targeting. I knew I wanted to write a Blaze. And at the same time that happened, my husband was diagnosed with tonsil cancer. He's fine now. He's been in remission for almost 8 years, which is great. But it made me think, wow, he was 47, I think, at the time, pretty young. And we're like, whoa. And it just kind of made me think, is there something that I'm not doing with my life that I wanted to be doing? So kind of those two things together made me think, I want to try writing a romance. I mean, I knew how to write. I was a lawyer by day, and I'm an appellate lawyer, so my day job is all writing. It's a very different kind of writing, but it wasn't like I needed to learn how to construct a proper grammatical English sentence. I needed to learn how to write a romance and learning. But I was fortunate to stumble on my local chapter of RWA and some really great people there who really helped me along the path of figuring out what I was doing. And like I said, I read a ton of Blaze books. And
right.
And then I got very lucky, and Harlequin has a lot of contests. They used to do So You Think You Can Write, which was their big one. I never entered that one. But they also had a lot of smaller contests for the different lines. And I'd see these contests come and go, but I was really trying to focus on, I knew I was writing a Blaze. So I tried not to be distracted by, shiny new object syndrome and try to write to any of the other contests. So I just kept to my guns and kept working on my Blaze. And eventually they finally had a contest for Blaze, and I entered it.
Right.
And I'll never forget this because it was literally my very first RWA conference I went to was in 2013, I think it was. Atlanta was where it was. And I was driving home from work one night, heading to DSW to buy shoes to go with the dress I was going to wear to the Regis ceremony. And my phone rang, and it was a number in Toronto, and I didn't recognize who it was, and it was Harlequin calling to tell me that I had won the Blaze contest. And then I couldn't tell anybody. So I was I was going to be with all these people, and I couldn't tell any of them because they were doing like some sort of a ceremony on like the third day of the conference or something. So I was at this conference for 2 days, and I couldn't tell anybody. And I remember running into Tawny Weber in the hallway, and Tawny, they used to have little contests on their chat board, and you could get feedback from some of their published authors. And that's how I had initially had contact with Tawny, and she actually read the first chapter of what became my first book, Triple Threat, which is the book that won this contest. And I see her in the hallway, and she's like, "Hey, what's going on with that book? How's it going?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's great. Everything's good." And, like, I couldn't say anything. And then, like, 2 days later, I'm in this ceremony, and they announced me the winner. She's like, "I can't believe you didn't tell me." And the senior editor, Kathleen Schiebling, was like, "We told her she couldn't tell anybody."
Yeah, no.
But so it was kind of
that
funny.
kind of news, though.
I got very lucky, and my prize was an editor for a month. So I worked with Dana Hopkins there for a month, and at the end of the month, she requested the full of the book, which I still wasn't finished with, but and then I submitted it, and that's how I ended up. My first 4 books are with Harlequin Blaze, and that's how I ended up writing for them. So
wow,
I was very, very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because a lot of times people don't realize that it's not as simple as, okay, I'm going to write this book and then I'm going to send in the whole book. And I mean, it's amazing to me how many people absolutely do not know what the guidelines are for any particular contest. And so just the fact that you knew the guidelines, you submitted, you followed through. I mean, all those things are work for getting a book done, no matter the genre.
Yeah, I tell people all the time the first thing to do, if you want to write a romance, the first thing to do is read. Read a bunch of them, and then read like what you think you want to write. Like even now, I'm trying to transition from category romance to single title, and there's so much more I need to learn on and I read a lot of single title obviously too, but still as you're now sitting down to try to write and plot one, there's more I need to learn because plotting and pacing is very different for a longer single title romance, and you can put a lot more in there in terms of subplots and so it's there's always learning. You're never done learning. But I guess that's what keeps it
Jody Thomas, Jody Thomas is a Texas author, and I've met her many times. She's always extremely gracious. And one of the things that she did that always sticks with me is the day she was inducted into the Romance Writers Hall of Fame, she bought $300 worth of books on craft of writing. And her comment was, "You never stop learning. It is always good to go back and review the basics." Which is one of the reasons why she's successful. I mean, because she knows. I mean, she's humble about it, and go ahead and let's relearn, let's review. I mean, it's a constant learning curve, I think, and it's always adjusting. So you reading, thinking,
Yeah, and you find different things that work for you. Like some things work for some people, and what plotting method works for you. And so you read a lot because then you figure out what works for you, or what you take a little from here and a little from there. It's like this from column A, that from column B, to find the process that works for you. And that's I think an ongoing ongoing process. I mean, I've been focusing a lot recently on productivity stuff. And I'm actually taking an online class right now that I'm loving, productivity, because I know that and when you work full time and you want to produce more books, it's really, figuring out where am I wasting time? How can I be more productive? And this class has been interesting because it's making me think of productivity in a different way, which is not just words on a page. You need to give yourself, when you're a creative, you need to give yourself time for the creative process too. You need to give your brain downtime to create and think. That's how you come up with characters and plots and all. So that if you're not giving your brain any downtime, then when you go to sit in front of the computer, you can have hours to write, but nothing will come out if you haven't given your brain that time to create. So that's the thing. At different times I'm focused, I'll focus on different things. You focused on craft for a bit. Now I'm kind of focused on trying to, a little bit more businessy stuff. Because like we discussed earlier, you can't ignore that. But, publishers are great. I'm right now mostly traditionally published, and they're great. But like you said, nobody's going to be more invested in your career than you are.
Right. So who's teaching the productivity class that you're taking?
Ronnie Lauren, and it's fabulous. Fabulous. I'm loving it. This is the first time she's done it. It's a new class for her. It's in Teachable, and so we're sort of her beta test group. And I'm on a planner group in Facebook, and like they make fun of me because for years I swore to my planner friends that I was never going to go the planner route. Now I'm addicted to my planner. But that's one of the things that helped me be more organized, and not forget things. Like I have an interview at 10 o'clock this morning that I have to call in for. It happened because one day I literally almost forgot that I had to go to court. And it scared the Jesus out of me. I was like, okay, I need to get my act together. I had things scattered in too many different places. And I still am not one of those people who goes and buys a $100 planner. Like I'm at Michael's when the Happy Planners come with my coupon and when they're on sale. And I love I love the system. I just bought a new one now, and I never thought I'd be like a 2-planner gal. So now I have my general planner, which has all of my everything: doctor's appointments, this phone call for this blog, my work stuff. This brief is due on this date. You have to be in court on this date. And now I bought a second planner that I'm going to start using in July because I've been taking Sarah Cannon's HB90 planning class on how to plan out your writing in 3-month chunks. Again, this all goes along with my whole productivity binge.
Right.
And so I'm using some of her in conjunction with the Happy Planner to have just a solely dedicated writing planner where I'm really keeping track of what my goals are for that 3-month period, what I'm achieving, what I'm not achieving, where I'm moving, just to kind of really help me move forward a little bit more. Because I felt a little stuck. I'll be honest, I did not have a great latter half of 2018, early part of 2019 for writing. I was stuck, and that's why I didn't have any releases in 2019. And you feel like you're failing, and and then you don't realize how many other authors go through the same thing, for various reasons. But I had a rough time that year, and now it finally feels like I'm back on track. And that's the great thing about Dirty Work is that it's the book that really got me out of my writing slump. Readers have reading slumps. I guess writers have writing slumps. So
they do.
And Dirty Work really got me.
So tell me about Dirty Work.
Dirty Work is just fun. I just decided I was going to have fun writing this book because I wanted readers to have fun reading it. I'm not, some romance authors edge more towards women's fiction and the angsty, emotional. And yes, obviously, every romance has to have a certain amount of conflict and emotion. But I'm definitely more toward the lighter side of romance. I like to write with a lot of humor. I let everything fly when I wrote this book. And I kept telling myself, Harlequin is going to cut this. Like, they're never going to let this stay. But I don't care. I need to write this. I want to have fun. So there's things in there like there's dirndl-wearing drag queens and a penis-themed bachelorette party, a cock-blocking Irish wolfhound. Initially, they told me they didn't want the dog in it. They wanted him to – I initially had it as a little dog, and they thought that was too cute, so I made it a big dog, and they let me keep that. But they initially were hesitant on the dog, and then when after my editor read it, she said, "I've never thought a book could be so sexy with a dog."
That reminds me of. Did you ever see the movie Ruthless People when Danny DeVito's sitting there? He's trying to figure out how to kill his wife or get rid of his wife, and his mistress is sitting there, and she goes, "What can I do for you?" He goes, "Do you have a big dog?" And she's like, "Well, as sexually provocative as I believe I am," and he's like, "Not for you." She's just very flustered, but it's for the poodle that is his wife's poodle, and he wants to get rid of that dog.
Yes.
So he's so when you mentioned the dog, I was like, oh, hey.
Exactly. Well, the great thing about writing the wolfhound, too, it turned out to be great because wolfhounds I did some breed research before picking the breed, and wolfhounds are notoriously lazy once they're adult, which is great because my hero's living in now, mind you, it is a penthouse. He's rich. The Dare heroes are always rich. So Jake is a millionaire club owner in New York. So he's living in a fabulous apartment, but still it's a New York City apartment. So,
Sure.
It helped that the dog was super lazy. Although I will admit, as I was writing the book, I'd get to especially when I'm writing a sex scene and they're in the apartment, because at a certain point in the book, they're sharing the apartment. They're living in the same apartment. And I keep forgetting, oh, crap, I got to put the dog in here somewhere, at least account for the fact that the dog exists. And it's also in the apartment. It's like writing with kids, oh, crap, I got to remember that kid.
That's right. We've got to account for that, yes.
Yeah, but I just had fun writing it, and I also did something different with this book in that I wrote it in first person present. I've always wanted to try writing in first person, and at the same time I was writing this, I also was writing the Read Me Romance novella, which I also did in first person present, and I found that I really enjoy writing in first person present. So I'm hoping to be able to do some more of that as I move forward in my writing. For me as a writer, I just found it brought me even closer to the characters, and just my writer voice, I think, just was suited toward it. And so that kind of helped. I think sometimes as an author, if you try something a little different, sometimes everything starts to feel very same. So trying something different in both just letting my imagination run and just putting in what I felt like putting into the book and writing in a different voice really helped me break through the slump. And I think the book turned out, I love this book. It's definitely one of my, you're not supposed to have favorites, but it's definitely one of my favorites that I've written, and readers seem to be, connecting with it, because I think a lot of people right now really just want to read something that's fun and escapist and, not the real world that we're dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I know that I've had a few people ask me, well, what you're writing, are you going to put the COVID situation in it? And I said, the first, I think, couple of weeks, I was flipping through Twitter, and there was an editor that said, please do not send me any books that are COVID themed, because I am not accepting them, and I know a lot of I know she's not speaking for everyone, but she's like, people want escapism right now, so just don't put it in there. There are going to be some that it's going to happen, but
there's already one out. There's already one out, and the author's got some blowback, which I'm kind of like, hey, let people write what they want to write. If you don't want to read it, just don't read it. Scroll on by. It's okay. Right. Not everything's for everybody, we don't have to give people grief for they want to write. If that's what you want to write,
well, it could have been very cathartic for her too.
Yeah, I know it's been a big discussion. I mean, I know I've even discussed it with my agent. Going forward, what's going to happen? Eventually, if there's a new normal, are we going to have to account for? And maybe we will. But I think you're right. Right now, when nobody really knows what the world's going to look like when we come out of this. I think right now it's just, my agent pretty much said, just keep, for contemporary romance authors who are the ones that are all facing this dilemma, just keep writing what you're writing. And Dirty Work is, it's set in New York City, and they're all over New York City. Hudson River flicks and, all, so, but it was written and scheduled to come out. It wasn't like we could pull it and change it but I think, again, you're right. People understand, readers are savvy. Romance readers I think are very savvy. They get dissed in the general public all the time. But just like most romance writers I meet are very well-read, articulate, educated women. I mean, so many of us I met lawyers, nurses, doctors, college professors, and the readers are the same. So they get it. They know when they pick up Dirty Work that they're not picking it up going, well, wait a minute, how could they do these things? It's COVID. They understand that this is, that.
Yeah. I think, and you're right. Yes. Well, and again, it's funny. I know a lot of, I write medical romance, and I've had friends go, oh, so are they, having stuff at the hospital? I'm like, no, that's like one of my big things that I absolutely will not do is I will not have people getting weird at the hospital because it's, I think, horribly unprofessional. And I do get the fact that residencies and people get stressed and, whatever. But I, in my experience, never really saw that in the different hospital facilities. Not to say that it didn't happen, but I would see more patients doing this versus the staff. So, in fact, just complete strangers, complete strangers. I remember working at a children's hospital in Dallas, and we'd have the asthma room, and the kids would be there for quite some time because it's asthma, and you got to make sure they're not going to rebound and all this. And we'd be sitting there, and they'd have these individual little spots because it was recliner chairs, and each kid had a TV. And I remember us sitting there. It had been hours, and one of the nurses that was working with me, or it may have been respiratory therapy, said, "Where's the dad in room for kid 7?" And I was like, I don't know. And someone's like, "Where's the grandma for kid 4?" And it was like, okay, well, I guess they, left. And, you just go get something for, to eat or just to step out or go to the bathroom. Yep. And then one of the custodians came walking in. He goes, "Well, I don't know what's going on in that bathroom in there, but something's going down." And then they both came back just like a bit disheveled, and we're just going, "Are you kidding?"
Oh, my God.
So it's just, that's why I never in my books have my staff doing anything at the hospital. But it's that feeling of this is not the only place they are. They are outside the hospital. There are people outside the hospital. So I always, again, I have my things. I know there's plenty of people who do it differently, and that's fine. But like you're saying, you have to write what speaks to you. So it's
exactly.
It all works out.
It'll speak to some readers and it won't speak to others, and that's okay. You're never going to appeal to everybody. I write high heat romance. Not everybody wants high heat, but it's what I like to write. It's what I like to read. So, you can't write something and obsess about, if I do this person won't like it. That's okay. You're never going to appeal to everybody. There's genres of romance that I don't read all that much because it's just not my jam. It doesn't mean they're bad books. It just means it's not my jam. It might be yours.
Yeah. Well, it's like everybody's getting very excited about Stephanie Meyer announcing, is it Before Sunrise? Was that the title that she announced
whatever
this week?
It is. Is it like the Twilight prequel or something? Or
yeah, it's the prequel.
I don't know
so
what
it's Edna's story. And and I'm sure I'm going to be, people are like, "What do you mean you never?" But I didn't read them. But it's one of those things of, okay, well, but again, like you're saying, it's not my jam. It's just not my thing. But good for her. I mean, and her presentation of getting people excited about the release of just the title of that book, brilliant. I mean, brilliant. She had a countdown clock and everything. Brilliant.
It's the same with E.L. James and 50 Shades. I read part of the first book. It wasn't really my thing, not because the heat level turned me off. I write high heats. That's fine with me. But I didn't find that it was to my liking. I find people are either you love it or you hate it. But, whatever, diss it as much as you want. The woman tapped into some sort of zeitgeist because, she's got a rabid following. So you can diss the quality of the writing all you want. There's something in that book that's speaking to not just a handful of people, but a whole ton of people. So
right,
might
and
not
she,
be my jam,
got movie
I'm not
deals.
Yuck on anybody's yum.
No, and and it's one of those things I think that is really super important to be in a writer's group, because I think it's so easy to fall into, why would anybody read, or blah blah blah, and that's but when you're around other people that say, like you're saying, it may not be your jam, but don't disrespect the fact of the hard work that was put into the project. And so don't be unprofessional. I think that's really important for any writers to know. And to be around others that do the same.
That I know you mentioned in the intro, you can find her on Twitter and this and this and that. I am no longer on Twitter.
Okay.
I
was looking on your website, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, it should be off there because I took my if it's not, I better go check because I updated it recently to take off my my Twitter off of my social media badges on
off.
my website.
You're right.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness. Because I just, that's part of this class I'm doing with Ronnie Lauren, although I did this before, is, figuring out what social media works for you, what's really just a distraction. And Twitter for me, I wasn't it's not like I was connecting with readers there. I did connect with some great authors there, which was really nice, like Kennedy Ryan and Zio Axelrod. Right. So there was a bunch of authors that I had connected, Andy Christopher, but I messaged everybody before I left Twitter. Most of them I was also connected with on other platforms. For the ones that weren't, I just said, hey, guys, I'm going to be shutting down this account in the next few weeks. Here's all my other social media. If you want to stay connected, here's how we can do it. And then most of them who weren't following me then went and connected with me other places. But other than that, I wasn't finding it useful, certainly not for book marketing, and not for really connecting with readers either. The only thing I was doing was trolling political stuff, and that was just sucking my time and my energy. So I just went cold turkey and shut it down. And ironically, I shut it down right before the whole RWA implosion, and it was kind of great because I wasn't on it to be like, I was sucked in the drama enough as it was, but it would have been even worse if I was still on Twitter. So I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram, for connecting with readers right now, and then the other sites like Goodreads and BookBub and stuff. Instagram. But most of my stuff is Facebook and Instagram. So.
Do you feel like that's the best place for a lot of romance readers to find you? I mean, in general, like as a writer.
I think for me, that's where my readers are. I think it's also, you just have to decide what you enjoy, what community you enjoy being a part of. Like, what are you good at posting on, and, play to your strengths kind of thing. I've just started using like a social media scheduler. So Sunday nights is my night when I schedule all my posts. My Instagram and Facebook are connected, so it's the same content really on both for the most part. And I schedule my posts on Sunday so that it's all done and I don't need to think about it. And if I'm in the writing cave on a particular day, I don't need to even hop on social media to at least have content. And I only do 5 days a week. Weekends, I'll post something if I see something fun and I want to share it, or if I've got a book release and there's something going on, but not on a regular basis. I keep my weekends sort of, social media free, at least for my author account.
Right.
And I'm seeing how
that's
that
part
works.
of your giving your brain a break too.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm playing around with, what content people are connecting with, and it's a lot of experimentation. But so far I'm finding that for me, for my readers, I think that's, if you write YA, I think that'd be totally different. Maybe you'd be better on TikTok and Snapchat, That's where my daughter's all the time, and she's in her 20s. But, you got to figure out both what you like to do, because let's face it, if you don't like doing it, if you're on a particular platform, but it's like pulling teeth just because you think that's where you should be, but if you're not liking it, then why do it? It's a grind for you, and that probably means your content won't be as engaging and fresh as you want it to be because you're not enjoying being on that platform. So figure out where you like to be, and by trial and error where you're connecting with people.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Facebook, as much as people complain about it for whatever reason, it does give readers a chance to really talk to the authors versus, Twitter's definitely got its strengths and Instagram's got their strengths, but it seems like there's an actual more of a back and forth and the good or bad, with the authors versus, Yep.
The only thing I think with, Facebook and Instagram is that you have to remember as an author is that you don't own the content there and you don't control the rules. So, we all know that they're always changing the algorithms and how many people can see your stuff because they want you to pay. They want you to advertise on their platforms. So they make it harder and harder for you to get organic reach, which is why one of the things I've been doing in this whole, business up your business game is working on my newsletter. I'm going to be switching it over to a different newsletter provider. And before I fully do that switch, I've been setting up automations and reading Newsletter Ninja, because your newsletter is one thing you do own. You have control over your subscriber list. You have control over the content. Your newsletter and your website are yours, and nobody can take them from you. So that's why, initially when I had designed my website, I did it myself. I took a class, and it was great because it was cool to learn. Again, one of those things you never thought you'd have to learn, right? I did it in WordPress, and it was fine. It was easy to navigate. It wasn't horrific. And then at a certain point, I kind of outgrew that, and I paid someone to help me design a site, and it was good. But the people I paid and had helped me design the site weren't really author site people. They were more. They do a lot of great sites for child actors. My daughter was a professional actor when she was young. She's still acting, but she's an adult now. And they were great. They were great to work with. But then I got to the point where I felt like I needed the assistance of someone who really knew how to design an author website. So then I did that.
Right.
But I do a lot of my updates on my own. I like to be able to update my own website for the most part, unless there's something really, graphic-y. I'm not great with graphics. I'm not a graphic designer, so your own strengths, right? But I like to at least be able to add a page for a new book, which is easy to do, once you understand how it works. And my web designers showed me how to do that, which is great.
I think that's important too. Yeah, to make sure that you don't have to worry about, I can fix that. I don't have to call anybody. I can fix that. I can add that. And I think that's the mark of a good web designer is they actually teach you how to do the little tiny things and maintain. And then the big projects, you're able to say, hey, can you help with this?
Yeah, they were great. Lauren Lane actually designed my website. Who's she's a romance author herself. A great. I'm the biggest stalker fan. I love her books. And she and her husband do web design, and they actually designed my website. They've done a lot of author websites. They have a business doing it, and so they're great because they, she understands as an author, and a web designer. She's got a great. She's coming at it from two different places, not just as a web designer, but also as an author herself. They're never defensive about, I'd like to do some of this on my own. Well, why? They get it. They totally understand.
Yeah. Well, and it lessens their workload a little bit with the little stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're not pestering them every time you need some little, I just had to go in and take a bunch of appearances down. Because a few events couple events I was supposed to be at, sadly had to get canceled for this year. I was able to do that in 2 seconds. I talked about it.
Yeah. Well, so we have about 2 minutes left, and so I wanted to tell you thank you so much for being here today. This was wonderful. And I'm looking forward to not only reading Dirty Work, but also hearing about Dirty Secrets when it comes out in November.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. Again, I've had so much fun writing these books. Dirty Work is Jake and Ainsley's story, and Jake's best friend is Connor. It's his best friend and business partner. They're kind of like two sides of a coin. Jake is like the pretty boy front man of the club. Connor's the little more introverted, number crunching, behind the scenes kind of guy. And Jake's sister, Bree, who you also see in Dirty Work, she's actually the one that hires Ainsley to help take care of the dog because she's an actress. She gets an out-of-town gig. She is the heroine in book 2. So it's one of my favorite tropes is best friend's, brother,
sibling,
that kind of brother's best friend, best friend's little sister trope. So I've done that trope once before in Triple Dare, and I loved it so much I'm doing it again. So that'll be Dirty Secrets. So.
Well, I love it, and I appreciate you so much for being here, Regina. Thank you for talking to us, and please come back when your next book is out or your next project.
I sure will. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. Really, it's really been a blast.
Oh, good. I'm glad, and I will keep talking to you online, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Lovely. So this was Patricia W. Fisher with Readers Entertainment Radio. I'm just talking to Regina Kyle, whose newest book, Dirty Work, is out now, and you can find Regina on her website, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Goodreads, and BookBub. So everybody tune in next week. We will have another fabulous author, but in the meantime, keep on reading.
This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.
The Hollywood Reporter is your ultimate source for awards race news this fall. Go to THR.com to keep up with this award season's expert predictions from executive editor Scott Feinberg, and tune into the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast for exclusive interviews with the biggest names in showbiz. Stay in the loop with daily newsletters providing real-time updates on all the awards action. Subscribe to THR.com for full access to the Hollywood Reporter and never miss a moment of this fall awards season. Visit THR.com today.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.